English podcast. We're going to have a new governor of the central bank, the Bank of Thailand, very, very soon. The two finalists will become our choices. The names will be submitted to the finance minister, who then will propose to the cabinet. Whether it's going to be a woman governor or a man governor will be very interesting. Dr. Rung Posayanun Malikamat, currently one of the deputy governors of the Bank of Thailand. The other candidate, Vai Ratanicorn, is now the president of Government Savings Bank. Both of them are highly qualified. And Thailand needs a real strong and effective governor of the central bank to help navigate Thailand out of the current stagnation of the Thai economy. Our monetary policy is vital in supporting the rejuvenation of the economy. So it's either an old hand at the central bank or someone with very well-grounded experience running a government bank, government savings bank. Now, what are the qualifications of the two finalists? And who will be able to manage the central bank in a way that will fit Thailand's grand strategy in really pulling up our economy under very serious challenges, both locally and internationally. Here, Ping and Pong of my AI team will deep dive into the outstanding qualifications of Dr. Rung and Kun Vitai. Listen to what Ping and Pong have dug out from big pile of data, and very interesting indeed.
Welcome to Suthichai Live English Podcast. We are an AI team on Suthichai team. I am Ping.
And I'm Ong.
Today, we're embarking on a really crucial deep dive. We're looking at one of Thailand's most impactful decisions right now. The selection of the new governor for the Bank of Thailand. You know, the central bank.
Absolutely.
And this isn't just about like who gets a fancy title. It's fundamentally about the economic path Thailand's going to take for the next few years. So our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack the strong qualifications and the quite distinct philosophies of the two final candidates. We're drawing from multiple perspectives to help you, the listener, understand exactly what's at stake.
Right, and why this choice really matters so much for the economy.
Yeah, deeply.
And, the selection process itself has been, pretty rigorous. We know the final interviews just happened June 24th.
Very recent then.
Yeah, and with the current governor's term ending September 30th, there's a definite sense of urgency. The selection committee, they've carefully narrowed it down to just two names. Highly qualified individuals.
The finalists.
Those names are now with the finance minister for his final consideration. Then it goes to the cabinet, probably early July. So it's moving fast.
It has to, really.
It does, especially for a role that will genuinely shape Thailand's economic landscape. Particularly now, as you mentioned, the country is trying to move past this period of, sluggish economic growth.
That's a really important point of the context. Thailand's economy, it's fair to say, has been in the doldrums for several years now. We've seen slow growth, that persistent household debt issue.
Huge issue.
Huge. And the recovery from, global shocks hasn't really gained the traction needed.
Yeah.
So the next governor inherits a pretty complex set of challenges.
No easy task.
Not at all. So with the scene set, let's really get into these two formidable contenders. We should probably start with the experience insider, Dr. R Malakamas.
Sounds good.
She's currently the Deputy Governor for Financial Institution Stability, right there at the Bank of Thailand. And looking at the qualifications, her credentials are just incredibly strong.
They really are. And what's quite fascinating here, I think, is how Dr. Rung combines this deep institutional knowledge, like really deep, with a very pragmatic approach. She seems to actively want the central bank involved in solving tangible, real-world economic problems.
Okay.
I mean, she brings over 20 years of experience from within the Bank of Thailand itself. She's held so many crucial roles. Think about it. A key member of the Monetary Policy Committee, the MPC,
Right.
served as deputy governor for administration, held assistant governor posts in different key departments. Her fingerprints are really all over the Bunny T's strategy, financial market measures, economic and monetary policy, both in normal times and, importantly, during crises.
So she's seen it all, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. For instance, during downturns, under her influence, the BOT seemed to adopt a more, let's say, proactive stance. It really showcases her belief that the central bank isn't just a regulator sitting back, but needs to be an active participant in managing crises. That's central to her reaching out philosophy we'll probably talk more about.
And it's not just the central bank experience, is it? She also has that commercial banking understanding, which feels pretty vital for someone leading the central bank.
Absolutely vital.
From 2017 to 2019, she was deputy managing director at Thai Bank, head of global business and strategy. So that private sector insight must give her a good handle on the practicalities banks face.
It absolutely does. And it acts as a critical bridge, I think. When you look at her policy vision, Dr. Room is very clear on needing to connect the dots, bridge the gap between policy decisions and their actual impact on the ground. She's particularly focused on improving how monetary policy transmits from the MPC to the financial institutions. She's talked quite a bit about this issue where commercial banks are maybe slow to cut lending rates, even when the policy rate comes down.
Right, which leads to that wide gap between what banks charge for loans and what they pay on deposits.
Exactly. It creates a sort of bottleneck, doesn't it?
Yes.
Stops the central bank's signals from fully getting through to businesses and households.
So her proposed solution to fix that transmission problem is pretty direct then, increasing the BPOT's supervisory role over banks to make sure policy actually works.
Yes, that seems to be the core idea. She advocates for the BPOT's core values: stand tall, look far, reach out, stay grounded. But she puts a real emphasis on that reaching out part, particularly when the economy's in trouble.
Interesting.
It suggests the central bank needs to be more hands-on in tackling the country's economic issues. It's not just about setting the interest rate. It's about actively making sure those rates lead to real economic relief.
So if she's advocating for a more hands-on BPOT, what kind of real-world impact could you, the listener, expect during a crisis? Maybe faster changes in bank lending or more direct support for certain sectors?
Potentially, yes. It implies a more interventionist central bank, perhaps quicker to guide banks or implement specific measures in tough times.
And that reaching out idea is interesting, implying a more dynamic BPOT. Now, it's also been widely reported, hasn't it, that Dr. Rung has strong political support. She seems to have made real efforts to align her policy thinking with the government's direction, kind of working to break down those perceived walls between politicians and the BPOT insiders.
That's the narrative, yes. It suggests a desire for more cohesion in national economic strategy.
And she actively supports policies that fit with government goals, like virtual banks.
Right, the digital-only banks.
And the NANCGA credit guarantee scheme, helping small businesses get loans, plus looking for sustainable ways to tackle household debt.
And beyond the domestic picture, her international standing is, well, quite impressive. That definitely enhances Thailand's global image. Degrees from Harvard and MIT. These are top-tier institutions.
They certainly are.
Her leadership at the Bubble Tea could really elevate Thailand's profile internationally, especially, with Thailand hosting the big IMF World Bank annual meeting in October 2026.
Good point.
So you put it all together, the deep institutional knowledge, the private sector experience, the pragmatic policy vision, the reported political alignment, and the strong international profile. She's a remarkably well-rounded, very strong candidate.
Okay, so we've explored Dr. Rung's approach, institutional depth, pragmatic, maybe more supervisory, that reaching out philosophy. But you said the committee narrowed it to two highly qualified people. How does the other finalist, Mr. Vai Ratanicorn, contrast? Does he offer a different path for the BT?
That's a great question because, yes, Mr. Vai Ratanicorn, who's currently the very successful president of the Government Savings Bank, GSB, he represents a distinctly different philosophy for leading the central bank. Equally powerful, perhaps, but different.
His track record at GSB is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's widely credited with really shifting its focus, turning it into what he calls a social bank, really zeroing in on resolving grassroots debt issues, increasing lending to small borrowers. That shows a very direct, tangible impact, doesn't it? Particularly at the community level.
It absolutely does. It's a clear sign of his focus on the grassroots economy. And here's where it gets really interesting, as you hinted at the contrast. Mr. Vitai holds a very firm belief that the policy interest rate needs to come down significantly and stay down for a sustained period if Thailand's, frankly, stagnant economy is going to get going again. He's been quite outspoken in critiquing how effective policy rate transmission has been in the past, especially for ordinary people and small businesses.
So, just to be clear, he's pointing out that, okay, when the policy rate went up, commercial banks were quick off the mark, raising their lending rates.
Quick indeed.
But when the policy rate was cut, they didn't follow suit, or not nearly as much. And he argues this just waters down the whole point of cutting rates in the first place.
Exactly. He'd say it diminishes the actual impact of monetary policy where it matters. For him, making sure commercial banks actually lower their lending rates when the BOT cuts is maybe even more crucial than the cuts themselves. He seems focused on tangible economic effects, not just theoretical policy adjustments.
That's a strong stance.
It is, and it highlights a desire for, let's say, direct, measurable results from monetary policy. And it appears he has very strong political backing for this particular view.
Okay.
Reports suggest significant support for Mr. Vitai, especially from Finance Minister Pichai Chunavajira, who's apparently very impressed with his work at GSB on that grassroots debt problem.
So the government connection is strong there, too.
It seems so. And it looks like the government desires quite a significant shift in the Bank of Thailand's policy direction. They seem to be pushing for stronger monetary policies that actively, juice the economy. The underlying feeling seems to be that maybe the central bank has been too focused on, say, theoretical models rather than the real pressing economic conditions people are facing on the ground.
Right.
This signals a very clear difference in the desired approach compared to perhaps the more traditional BOT stance, a call for a more maybe responsive central bank.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how the sources seem to give us these conflicting signals about who might be the actual frontrunner.
It really is.
One perspective really highlights Dr. Roon, her political support, international image, stability. Then the other emphasizes Mr. Vitai, saying he's highly likely precisely because the government wants this big policy shift he represents.
Yeah, and this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It raises that crucial question. What does all this actually mean for you, the listener? What's truly at stake here isn't just picking a person. It feels more like a deeper, maybe ideological choice about Thailand's economic future. Each candidate clearly represents a distinct path for the central bank. Dr. Room emphasizing that more interventionist supervisory role, using her deep institutional knowledge, trying to make policy transmission work better by, ensuring banks comply. Her approach suggests maybe a steadier hand building on the Bouthier's established foundation.
Okay, the stability route, perhaps.
Perhaps. And Mr. Vitai, on the other hand, he's focused on more, aggressive monetary policy adjustments, a direct bottom-up impact on the grassroots economy, pushing for those lower rates, focusing sharply on real economic conditions right now. His approach seems to promise a more immediate, direct kind of stimulus.
So the choice really has direct consequences for people's finances.
Absolutely. The next governor's decisions will directly impact critical things in your financial life. Think about interest rates on your loans, your savings deposits, overall bank lending policies, and ultimately the speed and the very nature of Thailand's economic recovery.
Right.
It affects how much you pay on your mortgage, your car loan, maybe your business loan, how easy it is to get credit if you want to start something new, even broader investment opportunities across the country. It's all connected.
Can you give an example of how those different philosophies might play out?
Sure. So if Dr. Room's more supervisory approach wins out, you might see perhaps more stable, gradual policy changes. The BIT working very closely with commercial banks to make sure policy gets transmitted smoothly, maybe leaning on them a bit more.
Okay.
If Mr. Vitai's more aggressive stance is chosen, you might see swifter, maybe larger rate cuts. That could potentially make borrowing cheaper much faster, which sounds good, but it also brings maybe different questions around financial stability down the line.
Different risks and rewards.
Exactly. Each candidate brings a fundamentally different philosophy for how to steer Thailand's economy out of these doldrums, which, as we said, have been quite persistent for a while now.
So understanding these different viewpoints, these priorities, it's really key for anyone trying to grasp where Thailand's monetary policy and its economy is headed. This selection, it really tells us something about the government's vision for recovery, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Will it be guided by, say, institutional stability and measured steps? or by a more politically aligned, maybe aggressive push for immediate growth. That choice is going to echo through the entire economy.
Without a doubt, this decision will absolutely shape the recovery path. And for you, the listener, understanding these nuances just means you're better informed about the economic forces that are going to influence your own financial well-being and the wider Thai economy for years to come. It's a big decision.
It really is. Whoever is finally chosen, the new governor of Thailand's central bank, will play a pivotal role in revitalizing Thailand's economy, which has been in the doldrums for several years now. Stay tuned for the next episode of Suthichai Live. I am Ping.